the organizers of this event, Dr. Monica Sharma, Dr. Anu Goyal, and Dr. Anita Ji, for being instrumental for transforming this idea into a reality. So, congratulate to you all. And finally, I wish good luck to all the participants and hope you all will be definitely benefited by attending this FDP come workshop. So, thanks a lot, everyone. Over to you, Monica ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words of motivation and encouragement to all of us. Now, without further ado, I request Dr. Naren Chaudhary, sir, to kindly take over the platform as the participants are more than eager to listen to you. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes. Anita ma'am, please stop sharing your screen so that Anand sir could share his screen.
Monica, just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Narendra ji, I would seek your permission. Actually, I'm driving my car. I'm on the way.
Okay,
so
okay,
definitely, I will be in your touch in future.
Sure.
Okay. So thank you once again, sir. Thank you.
Sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for joining.
Thank you, Monica ma'am and all.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Good luck.
So very good evening to everyone, and welcome to the AI-driven paper development workshop. So before starting the workshop, so let me just set the rules so that at least we can have a collaborative learning. So definitely I am here as a resource person, but largely I will be here to learn from each other. So whatever the little knowledge I'm having, I will just try to share with all of you that how we can use you can say the artificial intelligence and how we can shape up you can say qualitative research. So already the flow is already been shared, you can say, on the poster itself. So today we'll little bit understand what the qualitative research is all about. So I will be talking about that part. Then I will be talking about the various kind of qualitative researches we are using. And then we're going to come to the further things. And yesterday also I have shared some papers in the group itself, which is basically focusing on the various methodologies, you can say, of qualitative research. Right? So I will be delivering, you can say, deliberating on all the methods one by one. If I talk about myself, I largely work on IPA, that is phenomenology, phenomenological studies, you can say, in qualitative. So phenomenology is one area, you can say, but I will be talking about the grounded theory also. I will be talking about the case study method also, and the other areas also, right? So today I will a little bit build up, you can say, on the basics first, so that we are on the same page and we have an understanding what the qualitative research is basically dwelling in. And then we're going to talk about it, how we can use AI and we can shape up, you can say, the journey further. So I'll be giving few assignments to everyone, and that will going to help you to understand how you can take it forward. Moreover, I will also be, I have requested everyone to come with a brief, you can say, the proposals that you people might have prepared for your own self, which you would like to develop, you can say, in the form of the papers, right? So we have a discussion on that. So my idea is that I will be taking 1.5 hours for the explanation and the various other parts, and then I can keep the half an hour, you can say, for taking your queries or whatever the questions you people might be having in your mind. So any other input from anyone? So then we can move ahead. So any participant, so that I can just understand what are your expectations from this workshop, and so that we can set the ground and we can just move ahead.
Good evening, sir. Meenakshi, you have to say again. Your voice was cracking.
Yeah. So, good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, I just have a question that being an engineering candidate in this entire session, I know you are dealing with a lot of management students here. So the purpose of the research will be same. The research proposal I have in my mind, will it be sorted in this session?
I hope so.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
So although maybe I don't have a proposal right now, exactly, but then there are some vague, thoughts in terms of some topic or something We can carry forward with that thought, and maybe with your with the understanding that we have in the session,
Right.
then maybe whatever comes up as far as that is concerned, maybe that can be discussed.
Absolutely.
Fine, sir. All right. And yesterday I asked you that if we need any softwares, that you said we don't need particularly.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, sir. We're looking forward to learn.
Right.
Good evening, sir. This is Aravinda from Calcutta presently. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity to all the members out here. My understanding and expectation is, am I right in understanding that while I am trying to do the research, I have been referring to different platforms, which is electronic as well as on the book side. So this is going to be a revolutionary session for 5 days, which is going to give an understanding of a smart way of looking at the approach and how the AI can work my mind as well as be part of my team to the journey which I would like to pursue. So if that is an understanding, then I would love to learn the traits of the trick.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sir, Arvinder sir, I just want to say it is a 7-day workshop. It is not a 5-day workshop. So you're going to gain more than what actually you're expecting.
Yes, thank you so much, Monica ma'am. But on the same note, maybe I confess that since I will be also traveling, I might be opting for 5 days, but or participating actively on 5 days. Maybe 2 days I might be a little slow. So yeah, 7 days. That is what I conclude with.
Sir, don't worry. You'll not be at loss anymore, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so the idea for today is that today I will be a little bit touching the concepts first so that we are on the same page. We can have the understanding what the call research is all about. And then we're going to take one step at a time. And we're going to start from a scratch also so that you can also get an idea that when you are starting writing a paper, especially when you start developing a paper, how we can take it forward, right? So I'll start with it. So I'm sharing my screen now. I hope my screen is visible, right? Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It is visible. Yes, sir.
Great. Okay. So today I will be a little bit talking about qualitative research first so that we can have a basic understanding and then we can take it forward. You can say one by one. And please, whatever the questions you people are having, we can have in between also. Okay, so this will be the agenda for today's session. So I will be discussing about what qualitative research is all about, what is the definition, utility, why we are talking about qualitative research, why qualitative research, that's also important. What is the basic difference between both qual and quant? What are the various designs you can say? I'll talk about the phenomenology also and the overview of, you can say IPA, that is interpretative phenomenological analysis, and how we can employ, you can say, not only IPA, but all other qualitative research modes. Now, starting with, we have a lot of questions in our mind. Am I right? Shilpi ma'am, we'll start with you.
Yes.
So what idea you are having, what kind of topic you want to research upon?
So from a qualitative perspective and being a teacher, the first thought that comes to my mind is maybe gathering some qualitative information related to students and their higher order thinking skills. What teaching pedagogies can improve the experiential or maybe experiential exercises, improve the higher order thinking skills and learning capacity of the students. So that's my thought.
Okay, so I'll just take it forward. Now, if you want to research about your students, right, about their attributes, like how we can, you can say, looking at their high order skills, for example, if you look at that, how we can create a better experience for them in the class, what motivates them, what demotivates them. So I think a lot of studies have already had happened in this particular field, correct? So, but still you want to explore this particular area, or you can say particular topic further. So why? There's a reason, because already there are a lot many things which we are knowing, but there are few things which we still don't know, right? Because there are certain researches which has happened in the past, you can say, but because the demography is changing, the environment is changing, and due to which you can say lot of phenomena and lot of you can say social phenomena is also changing. So definitely there's a lot of change in the mindset, the way people perceive things. So at times I want to understand that do I need to, you can say, make my approach, you can say, how I can make my approach better, how I can cater to my new age students, you can say, especially when they're too much exposed to the Google. Now Google is old thing, we are having AI, we are having ML, and especially when in this era of chat GPT, Copilot, and lot many other so many things have been coming in, and the attention span is going, you can say, hazy, you can say, and the attention span is very, very less. So we can see there's a lot of changes which have been coming in. So when these changes are coming in, how we can relook at, you can say, the teaching learning process and how we can make it better. But when I want to understand this, how things are happening and why such thing is happening. So whenever I'm looking at this question, why, I want to understand this why. Am I right? And at times when I want to understand why, there may be some information available, but yes, there are a lot of other things also which are impacting, or you can say are influencing, you can say, the students. So what's that? So someone will talk about what is happening. So generally in quantitative research, what we have done, okay, X is having an impact on Y, and this is will be the cause and effect relationship. So causal relationship generally we used to understand this might be happening because of this. But why this is happening, this question is always unanswered, especially when we are talking about, you can say, quantitative researches. And there where's the qualitative research steps in. So whenever I have to answer why of a, you can say, research, I need to take the help of qualitative research. Now, when I talk about the types of research, so I'm talking about qual research and the quantitative. And we all know that when you talk about the numbers, it's more about quantitative. When I'm talking about observations, when talking about perceptions, so definitely I'm looking more towards the qualitative research, because I'm looking for the nuance aspects of the human behavior, which might not get tapped, you can say, in the quantitative research itself. Now, moving ahead, who conducts the research? So generally there are the two ways. Either it can be secondary database research, or it could be primary research. So this is the basic things that we have already understood and we already know about it. Now, what is the meaning of the qualitative research at times that we have to understand? Now, you all as a researchers are having some ideas in your mind. You want to study something. Now, there are some phenomena which are not, you can say, very well understood. You want to understand that, okay, why such kind of shift is happening. Now, for example, we could see that, okay, the women participation in India, for example, is increasing in workplaces. Now, there could be one more research that I would like to understand, okay, why such shift is happening, first thing. Second, if when the more women are there in the workplace, so how culture is evolving over the period of time, for example, right? So there are a lot of, you can say, lot of curiosity has been there. There are a lot of questions in my mind that why such things are happening. Like if you look at 10 years ago or 20 years ago, situations were very different. Okay. So is it because of environment? But what kind of environment? Is it because of society is evolving? Okay. Society could be one thing. So is the technology also need to play some role? For example, there could be lot many factors that can actually impact, you can say, the human behavior. And when I want to study the human behavior, it's very tricky. So the people, especially who are from the HR field or maybe from the marketing, when you study about the consumer behavior or when we talk about the human behavior, it's not that simple to understand, right? And when we want to understand and when we want to unravel, you can say, the human behavior, we need to study it deep. You can say the layers are very, very deep. So in the OB, when we talk about, there are surface level, you can say, things also, and there are deep level diversity. So when you talk about the surface level diversity, they are much visible, but the deep level diversities are invisible because people are having different set mindset. They're having different exposure. They're having you can say different aim, personalities, lot many factors have been there. So definitely one human is very much different from others. So definitely understanding human behavior is not that simple. And definitely if I'm able to little bit get an idea, you can say, about the human behavior, somewhat it helps me and guide me that okay, how I should behave in a particular manner. Then we can see, like for example, I'll give you one you can say tricky topic, and lot of debate has happened already on it. That okay, should same-sex marriages be allowed in India? Now this is, you can say, many people are having different kind of perspective on these particular situations. Should women be allowed to work in an area which are earlier reserved, you can say for the male counterparts? Now on the same, you can say, questions, the people might be having different kind of perspectives. Now from where these perspectives are coming in and how these perspectives are actually shaping, you can say, the culture, or you can say the human behavior, then now whatever the kind of experience I am having, that experience is basically differentiating me from other person. Now when I'm talking about the experiences, that is very, very essential to understand that my experience is different from yours, and definitely might be because of that experience, your perspective might be different, and because your perspective might be different, your behavior will be different. So somewhat you can say, I am not using, you can say, I am using non-numerical data. That means I am relying more on qualitative data, you can say, which I can get from the people, maybe with the help of observation, maybe by interacting on one-on-one. There could be a number of methods we'll go to discuss one by one. Any questions up till here? Okay. So moving ahead. So qualitative research is also a scientific research. In general, the scientific research we talk about, it investigates about few things. First, seeks answer to a question. Systematically use a predefined set of procedures to answer the questions. You collect the evidence. You produces findings that were not determined in advance. That means you were not clear that, okay, that no past evidence has been there. And then produce findings that are applicable beyond the immediate boundaries of the study. So at times you are having lot many findings that you might not be knowing earlier, and that is beyond the immediate boundaries of the study. So that means, like for example, there was a study that happened earlier in the OB, for example, especially when the human relations movement started, and at that time, when you talk about various experiment, right? Hawthorne experiment we all have studied. So Hawthorne experiment was trying to measure something else, but the findings came something else also. They got to know a lot many things about the human behavior. That why people want to stay in a group, for example. If they want to stay in a group, what are the reasons for that? And ultimately, we got to know a lot many things about the human behavior. Similarly, when I'm talking about the qualitative research, it gives me a lot of information about the people, about a particular phenomena, that why certain things happen in a certain way. Now, when I talk about, it's also naturalistic inquiry that we can say. And what we want to understand, basically, we want to understand a social phenomena. Within their natural settings, you can say, natural setting, that means we are not going to create any, you can say, experimental kind of setting where we have to, you can say, two settings have been there. One is control and one is uncontrolled, and we want to see that what is happening. But larger, what we want to understand that, okay, in their natural surroundings, their natural settings, how people are behaving and how they are working. Now, when you're talking about the utility part, I am talking largely about effective, you can say, in obtaining culturally specific information, which largely is unavailable to me because when we talk about the culture is very, very difficult to understand because it takes a lot of time to evolve also. And moreover, it is very close knitted, you can say. So to understand the specific information, for example, if I talk about the values, if I talk about the opinions, if I talk about the behaviors and the social context of a particular population, if we talk about India itself, I'm not talking about the world. If we talk about the India, we say is unity in diversity. But technically, if you just look at North is very, very different from South, and East is very different from West. That means within the same country, we can see people who hold different kind of value system. Their opinions are very, very different. Their behaviors are very, very different. And for the simple reason, because they are coming from the different social context of particular population. And why it is happening? Because their experiences are different, their perceptions are different, their perspectives are different, and ultimately that ultimately leads to a different human behavior. And that is why no two people are alike. They think very, very differently. So why qualitative research? The strength is because it's given me an ability to provide a complex textual descriptions how people experience a given research issue. Like for example, I want to understand that, okay, during COVID, how was your experience? Now, if you want to conduct a kind of a quantitative research, so that's a kind of a causal thing. But if I want to go deeper into it, I want to understand the deeper issues, that why people behave in a certain manner, why they act in a certain way. So definitely I can get that kind of understanding from the textual description, which I can only and only get from qualitative research. Now, definitely when we're talking about the information about the human issue side of an issue, that is often contradictory behaviors. That okay, contradictory behaviors have been there, belief systems have been there, opinions have been there, emotions have been there, and relationships of individuals. So how they, you can say, experience the kind of relationship with each other, you can say in a particular family setup, you can say in a certain culture, you can say. So how they're doing it. And largely when used along with quantitative methods, so qualitative help me to understand, and you can say better interpret, you can say, the situation and the reality, the complex reality, because whatever you experience from outside, the things are very, very different from inside. So to give a better understanding of the complex reality of a given situation, and definitely you are having a better implications of the quantitative data. And that is why in today's time, we are largely now moving from quantitative and even qualitative more towards mixed methodology, where I am using both qualitative and the quantitative methods so that I can get a better understanding. That is a causal relationship also I can understand, but also along with causal relationship, why this relationship is appearing in a certain manner, why this thing is happening. So to understand the complex reality of a given situation, the qualitative research can give me better insights. Now, the purpose if I talk about answer why question. When I talk about the quantitative, this is largely talking about how many, how much questions. Now the data type we talk about, so in quantitative, everyone knows that it's largely numbers. We have to create a data, we have to prepare a data sheet, and then we run the analysis, and then we get the results, and then we start interpreting it. And then so statistical results we are largely relying on, especially when talking about the quantitative data. But when I talk about the qualitative, largely observation based, it could be symbol, it could be a word, and where I'm interacting, I'm having a conversation with the people so that I can understand that what is deep inside going in. Now, when I talk about the approach, so where in quantitative, I'm talking more about measuring it and testing it. But on the other hand, when I talk about the qualitative research, it is more about observation, it's more about interpretative. Now, when I talk about the analysis, so generally we are using statistical analysis, especially when we talk about the quantitative. But when I talk about the research and the qualitative, I am actually going for the thematic analysis, which you might have heard in the larger context. So grouping of common data, and then the non-statistical analysis, that okay, what the larger group, or you can say the larger set of people whom I'm interviewing, what they are thinking about, why they think or why they experience a particular phenomena in a particular manner. So largely I'm getting this kind of things from the qualitative research. Any questions from anyone? Okay.
No, sir, all good.
All right, great. So moving ahead. Yeah, yes, Shrishti? Okay. So when I talk about the conceptual, so looking at the, you can say the differences. So the first is conceptual. The concept with understanding human behavior from the informant's perspective. Now, you have to understand, as a qualitative researcher, you are not judging anyone, especially when you talk about the qualitative research. You are there just concerned with understanding the human behavior from the informant's perspective, whatever, and assumes a dynamic and negotiated reality. Now, when I talk about the quantitative concern with discovering facts about social phenomena, that what are the factors, what are the various variables, right? And assumes a fixed and measurable reality. Okay, this thing is measurable and this is unmeasurable. So when I talk about the unmeasurable aspects, so largely I have to move to qualitative research. Now, what are the methodology? The methodology is largely observation and interviews, and then data is analyzed by themes from the description by the informants. That is one-on-one interview or the focus group interviews that you have taken. And the data is reported in the language of the informant. That means in the form of the narrative inquiry. It could be a storytelling, you can say. It could be thematic analysis. It could be phenomenological analysis. It all depends on what kind of approach in the qualitative research you are adopting. And then if I talk about the quantitative, it is through measuring things, then data are analyzed using numerical experience, that is statistical inferences, and then the data is reported to statistical analysis. Now, if I talk about the purpose part largely, so reality is very single. Now, the assumptions about the quantitative research is the reality single can broken in parts studied, but in actual it doesn't happen like that, right? Because because everyone is having it their own truth. Their reality is very different from yours. So it can only be studied holistically. The reality is multiple and it can only be studied holistically. We cannot say that, okay, this is happening, so this is the ultimate truth. No, it's never happened like that. For everyone, the world appears very different. Like in Ramcharit used to say, na, Jaise Dishti, Vaise Shrishti. So everyone is having their own perspective. So you cannot say that my perspective is right and his perspective or her perspective is wrong. No. So when you talk about the role of a researcher, for example, you have to understand here, in quantitative, your role is objectives of inquiry are separate. Hence, one can look at reality objectivity. That means we want to measure something in a quantitative way. Objective reality has been there. So your role is to observe and measure, and the researcher exerts control over the variables, for example, over the. But when you talk about the qualitative research, largely, it is the researcher is what researchers are interdependent. The reason being, because the researcher role is to become part of what has been studied. Like, for example, I want to study the culture of India. Now, you cannot study the culture of India till the part as a researcher, you are very much part of it. So, to become part of that, what has been studied. So, researcher does not intervene. Largely, you just experience it, but you want to hear it from the other people. Now, the purpose of the quantitative research is that, okay, I have taken a sample size of 1,500, 1,500, where I want to generalize that, okay, this is what the maximum people thinks like. But when I talk about the purpose of qualitative research, please just remember this. The purpose is to contextualize and to interpret and not to generalize. We cannot generalize qualitative research. This is a basic difference and the major difference. Because the sample size is very, very different, but the kind of insights that you are getting, you can say, from the qualitative is very, very different from that of, you can say, the quantitative. When you talk about the research questions, so definitely it is largely at deductive level. So researchers start with an hypothesis. For example, you already know that, okay, I want to study a particular phenomena. So there's a significant relationship of so and so of X on Y or Y on X. So you create your own premise or a hypothesis. But when you talk about the research question, that is more, you can say, inductively. That is more inductive in nature. So the researcher observes and formulates research questions largely. Now, when I talk about the research design, it is basically has a hypothesis and set methodology. And largely we try to summarize, you can say, the data in numerical indices. But when I talk about, you can say, the research design that evolves over the time. So once the data is gathered, then the researcher looks for patterns and according the research design is been adopted. Now, length of a study, if I talk about, the study can involve fairly short time because you have to collect data, and once the data has been there, you have to you analyze the data, you run the test, and then you start interpreting it. But qualitative research involves a very, very long time commitment. because it's not one-time job. There is a possibility that you have to visit the same respondent once, twice, thrice, till the time you are getting the right kind of data that you are looking at. When I talk about the typical data, definitely is largely random sample and involving test or responses to surveys are generally used. But when I talk about typical, it is more purposeful, or you can say purposive. Limited number of participants. So generally, I used to take field notes, I conduct interviews, and I take written documents can all be used. Now, data analysis largely statistical, as we can all know, that is part of quantitative research. But when I talk about the qualitative, it is largely interpretative analysis of the data and the categorization of the data. And the categorization takes place in the form of the themes that emerge after analyzing the data, you can say. And the language is very technical, which we use in research report. But when you talk about the qualitative research, it is largely, you can say, descriptive in nature. Now, for example, I want to work in the health sector. Now, you can see these are the various approaches that I've taken. Yeah, ethnography, phenomenology, grounded theory, case study, and action research. Now, this is largely, you can say, the method that I am, you can say, using largely in qualitative. I'll discuss one by one. And largely, these are the sampling techniques which we largely use, especially in the qualitative methodology, because random sampling, especially when you talk about the qualitative research, is not very apt at times because doesn't serve the purpose. And that is why, as you could see, these are largely, you can say, non-random samplings, which are, you can say, the purpose sampling has been there, snowball sampling has been there, convenience is there, or theoretical sampling or maximum variation sampling. Now, these are certain, you can say, the types which are largely been used. And then, if we talk about the data collection methods, so these are in-depth interviews where you made an interview guide, and then or you made a questionnaire, you can say, or a schedule, and then you are sharing it with the respondent, and then you are asking them questions. So in-depth interviews that could be in form of focus group where you can say 10 to 12 people up in there and you're interviewing them at once because you want to interview many people at one go. Then one is observation, like for example, in the marketing research, for example, you want to understand the consumer behavior, especially in the mall. So you're just going there, you're just observing people. All right, you're not asking questions from them, but you're observing. So observational techniques have been there, which we use to collect the data, and then we report it. Then the document analysis, which is largely also known as content analysis, which has been there. So you might be knowing about we take tweets, maybe on the X or any other platform. And then we used to run, you can say, at times, the sentiment analysis we at times try to do, and we try to understand, okay, what is the basic understanding or you can say the feeling of the people over there. And then the participatory methods are also been there. We've tried to get the information from the people. Now, yes, Rachna, any question?
Yeah, sorry to disturb you, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Sir, my question is, with respect to grounded theory, if I am having already existing theory like JDR model, job demand resource model,
Right.
and I am checking the lived experience of people on the basis of this COVID or other crisis situation, and I am putting their resources in fitting in this JDR model. So this type of research, this type of approach would be known as what?
Okay. See, when I talk about, so I'm just taking one question because when I talk about the grounded theory, I'll tell you there that where we use grounded and where we use thematic and content, right? So what you're talking about, because already theory is existing. So grounded theories are largely been used to create a new theory, right? So when we are conducting a qualitative research, especially the areas which are very, very novel, or you can say a particular theory that you talked about, the JDR theory, correct? So that is proposed, for example, years ago. So there might be some changes, you can say, because the kind of population we were having that point of time, the kind of situation we were having that point of time, definitely there will be a lot of changes that we can observe at this point of time, correct?
Yes.
So you have taken a COVID situation. So definitely when we are collecting data again, with the similar situation, definitely. So there we can actually get some new observations where we can improvise on the existing theory. So if you want to improvise on the existing theory, definitely grounded theory is the one way.
Sir, actually, sir, my question is, I did that. I
Hmm.
made that JDR model as a crisis response model, but
Mm-hmm.
reviewer said that this is not a, I have done the thematic analysis because I have checked the lived experiences of people. So my paper is in the review process. So reviewer is
Mm-hmm.
asking, uh, clearly explain which type of research is this, because this is not
Okay.
grounded theory, because you have not created something
Any
new.
theory. Correct, correct, correct. That is what I said. If you want to improvise the existing theory, that is what Rachna, I told you. So in that case, because you're talking about the lived-in experiences, so here what is it is this research is more about phenomenology. We want to understand the phenomena, right? So phenomenology you will have to use in your research.
But sir, theory was already existing,
That's
so there
fine.
was a debate in that case, and reviewer was not getting convinced. I have given this point also, that
Hmm.
I have checked the lived experience of people and I have put them in JDR, in the JDR model, with the new novel things as well. So
Yeah.
wouldn't it be the extension of grounded theory and making it is a in the form of a change in
Okay.
the model or
Yeah, yeah.
improvisation in the model?
Okay, I'll just tell you because as you have already said that you have studied the lived-in experiences. See, Rachna, we have to understand the scope of the study. So when I'm talking about the lived-in experiences, that means I'm talking about their experiences, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and when we talk about for this kind of study, so we have phenomenology. So in qualitative, it's very clearly mentioned. So when I talk about the IPA, interpretative phenomenological studies,
Yes.
right? So this is IPA method that is largely be utilized, especially for the kind of studies that you are doing, because you are taking, you can say, the existing theory as a base, correct?
Yes, sir.
You are already, yeah, so you are only taking theory as a base, but actually, so when you start doing the analysis and when you have identified everything, so if there is something added, so you can propose, you can say a new conceptual model, you can say in that particular thing, but ultimately there has to be some novelty. If the novelty is not there, all right, so then definitely that will not be considered for the grounded theory.
Okay, so improvisation would be considered as a novelty, and I can
Yes, yes, yes.
justify.
Improvisation has to be there because you are. I'll just share one of my paper with you. Recently, it got accepted, so I'll share that. So I have research on Maternity Benefit Act in India. Correct.
Okay.
So in that, I have used set theory, social exchange theory, right? So already that social exchange theory is already available.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to change the theory, but I want to understand, you can say, this qualitative research on maternity benefit through the lens of set, for example. Correct? Now, what I have done, I have studied the lived-in experiences. So I have used IPA there.
Okay.
That is interpretative phenomenological analysis, where I have taken the base of set theory. All right. So that I can understand, you can say particular phenomena. So every study is having its own scope, and in that particular scope only I have to work.
Got it, sir. So please do share that paper. That is
I'll do
going to
that.
help me in
Sure.
writing my justification.
Absolutely.
Thank
So,
you.
sir, I have one question also.
Yeah, ma'am.
What is theoretical sampling and what is maximum variation sampling?
Okay. Ma'am, see, theoretical sampling when we talk about, so largely, for example, I am conducting interviews, right? Now, there might be a question that, okay, what is an actual sample size that I should take for a qualitative research? Now, I interviewed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, there will be one particular point when the data will start getting saturated. That means similar kind of, you can say, answers starts getting repeated. You will agree with
Okay.
that? That happens?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that is theoretical sampling. You can say, so where I am talking about it, okay, I am taking a particular theory, all right, and that is, you can say, sorry, I'm talking about the data saturation, sorry, all right. So theoretical sampling, when I talk about, so largely it's talking about a particular theory I have taken, all right, like Rashna has talked about JDR, for example, all right, or I want to, I want to use a particular theory to identify. For example, I studied this maternity benefit through set. So with the help of through particular theory, I want to explore, you can say, you can say the experiences of the people through that particular theory. So there I will be using theoretical sampling.
Okay, so in this particular sampling, there is nothing about the number of participants or how the participants will be chosen.
See, so largely, ma'am, if I talk about the sample size, ma'am, so sample size, Shelly, that can range from 2 to 50, it can be more. But largely, we stop taking interviews when there's a data saturation. When is data saturation? When same kind of responses are coming in.
Yeah.
So the data saturation can come at 5 also, it can be at 10 also, it can be at 50 also, it can be at 100 also. Depends. The kind of research that you are doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about maximum variation sampling?
Okay, I'll come to that. So that just finish and I'll come back to it quickly.
Okay.
Right. Right. So these are the various other techniques that I'm using in qualitative methodologies. That is a thematic analysis, grounded theory, content analysis, narrative, and reflexive analysis. So these are generally techniques that you might be using, you can say, in the qualitative research and the phenomenology also. So this is how largely I'm going. So these are the 9 key steps. So first is identifying the research question. That is a very important part. So whatever the proposals that you people have prepared already, please make sure that what kind of research question you are having in your mind. Now, as a first example, what Rachna has talked about, if we talk about the lived-in experiences, so there definitely the research approach will be that I have to go for IP, or you can say the phenomenological studies has to be there. Now, what will be my research plan? How will I going to collect the data? From where I will going to get my respondent? How I will going to reach to them? So all these things will be there. Then you also have to select the participant. Who are the right participants? Who will be the participants for your study? Now, for example, you want to understand, you can say the drug consumption behavior of teenagers. So who will be the participants? Who will be the right participants? Their parents, their teachers, or the student or the people who are actually consuming it? Anyone? So selection of participants is very, very essential, and we have to understand that how we can do that. Then then we have to start collecting data. Once the data is collected, largely that can be one-on-one, that can be FGDs, that is focus group discussions, and then we can talk about analyzed data. And once the data is analyzed, then I try to interpret the findings, and then we try to draw a conclusion and generate insights, and then communicate the results. So this is a simple qualitative research design that is in 9 key steps that I generally used to follow. Any questions in this one? Okay. So when we talk about the research paradigm in the social science, it's very, very essential that what kind
So
of
Narendra, I have a question.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So this is Dr. Netra.
Yeah, ma'am.
When you spoke about the student, and you said, okay, whom do we get the data from?
Right.
Now, suppose I go by the stakeholder theory and feel,
Right.
everyone. You talk
Right.
to the student, you talk to the parents, you talk to maybe, a close friend
Right.
or a relative or somebody like that. So
Right.
all those can be a part of the study, right?
Correct, ma'am. So
And then we
largely
can put
I
it
have
under
to
stakeholders
Yes.
approach.
Yeah. So when I talk about, I'll just take your example, ma'am. So when I am employing this stakeholder theory, so definitely I am looking for a triangulation kind of a research, triangulation method in my research, where I want to get a holistic understanding, you can say from the perspective of the parents, from the relatives, or maybe friends, and whosoever is, you can say, related to them. But for example, if I really want to understand, only you can say that why there's a consumption intake is increasing among the students. So definitely my actual you can say respondents will be the students, because their parents, or you can say their friends, even can't comment completely on their behalf, right? Because who is experiencing actually that, they can answer me in that better way, right?
And so in this case, suppose I take
Yeah.
only one particular individual. So
Right.
I wanted to talk in terms of the research I am currently doing, and my paper is kind of, in place,
Right.
and I need your inputs on that. So I was
Right.
working with artisans,
Right.
and at that particular time, these were the crafts people, and they faced some problem in terms of resilience because of COVID. And
Correct.
so we interviewed a couple of artists, or these social enterprises. Now, if I have just interviewed the key informants of these social enterprises, which happen to be the founders.
Right.
So at that particular time, is it important that we stick a theory before we start this kind of a research? Because
Yeah.
we have in-depth interviews taken from 4 craft organizations.
Okay. Done. So, ma'am, in this way, like we have to just look at, like for example, what I want to first, my research objectives will actually define it, okay, who will be the correct respondent, first of all. As you're talking about the artisans, so what I want to study basically. So if you can a little bit elaborate that what you want to study about them.
So maybe what we can do is this, we can take it as an offline discussion. Otherwise, it will
Sure.
become too
Absolutely.
much focus on what I,
Right.
talk about, and you may not be able to cover the rest of your topic.
Correct.
So we can take it offline, sir. No problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So largely what I was talking about is, so when I'm talking about selecting the respondents, so I have to make sure that my research objectives are actually taken care of. I'll give you my example from my recent research and I'll share that paper with all of you. I was talking about the Maternity Benefit Act 2017 and I just want to understand that, okay, what is the perception of female regarding the amendment and what is the perception of, you can say, the employer regarding the amendment. Now I'm taking two, you can say, people in this particular research. Now there was a reviewer who gave me one comment that, okay, why not to take, you can say, the male colleagues' perspective also about this particular act. Now, for that you have to give a justification because see, when you do a particular research, the research has to be focused. You cannot put everything in one particular research. So what we have done in my research, what I have done, that we have interviewed, you can say, the various female, you can say, employees from the various organizations, from the various industry, especially largely you can say where this act is applicable. So we can say the organized sector, and then we interviewed HRs because HR we have taken, you can say, as a representatives of the management. So we took their interviews, but when we interviewed them, so we also tried to understand from the perspective of the females that, okay, what is their take? So there were certain themes that got identified, and we also tried to understand what is an employee perspective, and then we tried to match it, and then we try to get certain insights that, okay, what are the loopholes? What is our understanding of the females regarding the act, how you can see the employers thinks about it, and how whatever the gaps have been there in the policy, how we can plug that. So you can say we have taken two parties, but yes, because male colleagues can also be, you can say, the important subject to it. So definitely a different research can happen that, okay, what is the perception of male colleagues regarding such kind of Snehal, any question? Okay. So largely, so we can have a different research question for that and then we can move ahead accordingly, right? So this is how it depends upon my research objective, what I want to basically study. So there was one paper which I've already shared with all of you, in which I have used narrative inquiry as a methodology, where we have interviewed, you can say, the students about their e-cells in the university setups and what kind of benefits they are getting out of it. So depending upon the research objective, somewhere I have to understand it, okay, what kind of take I will going to take. So that is why the paradigm is very, very important. So that is why assumption values become very, very essential. And that is what I have kept it. Like positivist or scientific. That means objectivity is there everywhere. And systematic detailed observation seeks to explore cause and effect relationship. So largely your quantitative research is basically positive and scientific in more nature because you want to have a causal relationship. You want to understand. When you talk about the interpretivist, you can say perspective, I want to understand what is to be a human and the significance and meaning people ascribe to life events. Like for example, for some people, COVID was a blessing. But for some people, COVID was the worst thing that can happen to their life. Now, same event, but different perspective, different experiences. Now, when I talk about the radical or the critical view, the desire is to change the world and not to just describe it. So I want the world is unjust and inequality stem from the social lines, you can say gender identity, class, age, sexuality, etc. So action is required and it is possible to change this injustice. The post-structuralist is No one can stand outside the tradition or discourse of their time. So they have to adhere to it. So somewhere, when you talk about the researcher's role, changes, you can say the kind of, you can say the topic you are handling, because every topic is very, very different. And because looking at the research objectives, accordingly, I have to make my approach. I have to change and I have to review my approach and I have to move ahead. And that is why when I talk about the methodologies, quantitative, qualitative, and emancipatory, and the research focus on text and something, all these things comes in. And when I talk about the ontology, social reality is stable and ordered. But in actual, social reality is never stable and ordered. So it's subjective. Reality is always subjective. The qualitative research is always thinking that, see, whatever we see, that is not complete truth. Because what people experiences in their life, that is the actual reality which they are facing. So it's subjective and socially constructed. And then social change must begin at the roots of social reality. So everyone's social reality is very, very different. They appear something, but what they experience, that is very, very different. And epistemology, if I talk about that, knowledge is derived from sensory observations. Largely, this has been said. But when we talk about the qualitative one, especially the interpretivist, they are talking about the knowledge right from everyday observations. That, okay, what is my day-to-day observations is all about? That how a thing is happening in a certain way. Now, knowledge is socially constructed. They're sometimes communal, at times they are contextual and subjective. However, has to be a rational and emancipative. And somewhere the post-structuralist, they says knowledge is social in nature. Now, when we talk about the axiology, so that is the researchers removed a distance from the research to ensure that their beliefs and values do not influence the research. So definitely when we talk about the biases, so we try to remove the biases from our researches, right? And that is why we used to say that, okay, the bias need to be removed. But when we talk about when the research is part of the research, that is what and how of the research, we reflect the values of the researchers. But the researchers aim to present a balanced, you can say, interpretation of the results, which is based on their own understanding and the data, and not to like overemphasize whatever they are feeling about it, but what the data is basically talking about. And when we talk about post-it, that the researcher takes to change the world through their research by drawing the experience of marginalized and disempowered groups in society. So largely when I'm talking about certain kind of research, for example, on gender, or you can say certain areas in which very little has been done. So you can say, I want to bring some breakthrough research, you can say, which can change someone's life. That could be in science or something. And the last, you can say the researchers have the same discourse as the research participants, and we try to understand how power works through constructed discourse and participants. Now, these are certain examples. Like, for example, medical mask versus N95 respiratory for presenting COVID-19 health among healthcare workers in randomized settings. Now, experiences of home healthcare workers in New York City during coronavirus disease 2019 are qualitative analysis. This is a constructivist view. So we generally, when we talk about the qualitative, we are largely talking about constructivist view and hearing the voice of Australian healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. And then Foucauldian discourse analysis of media reporting, that means whatever is there in the social media, or you can say, I want to understand it, I want to analyze it, and want to draw some implications out of it. So these are the certain, you can say, qualitative research design. So largely they are descriptive in nature. They are phenomenological. Action research. Action research are largely been used in the corporates where I want to, you can say, bring a solution to the existing, you can say, the problem which I'm facing. So largely these are action research. So your consultancy projects at times I'm just giving this example. You want to fix some immediate problem in an organization, and you are conducting an action research that, okay, what kind of interventions can be taken care of so that we can resolve the problem. So the action research. Then case study. Now the case study is largely been acting as, you can say, an evidence that, okay, such things have happened in the past, and or for example such thing is happening, so how we can use a particular case study to draw a meaningful inferences and to create something new or some better, you can say, policies and the philosophies. And apart from that, when we talk about the grounded theory, so largely for a theory building, we are using grounded theory. Ethnography is largely being used when I want to understand, you can say the ethnicity or you can say the culture, a particular specific culture. So quantitative, where its philosophy is very objective, quality is very, very subjective. And this is what we're talking about. Inquiring is deductive and hypothesis, but when you talk about the quality, it's more towards inductive and then towards deductive or from deductive to inductive. So especially when you talk about the qualitative, I can use both inductive and deductive, you can say methods. And largely, I don't have hypothesis generation, you can say, when you talk about the qualitative, because there I used to have a research questions. Now, when I talk about the methodology, so these are the interviews, focus groups, observation, document analysis. You can say I am in the video, river of live social media, and even from the kind of, you can say, post a person is making. So even from that also I can analyze lot many things. So nowadays we're doing a lot of sentiment analysis at times we try to do. We try to do the text mining and all that. So lot many new things are coming in where I just try to understand the phenomena. And definitely the understanding is I want to describe something. I want to explore something which no one has done in the past. I want to understand a particular underlying phenomena, that why such things are happening. I want to discover something. I want to examine something. Like for example, I give you one example from my research. I wanted to study that, okay, in the Indian hospitals, if there is a kind of a wrongdoing which is happening, so why nurses want to blow the whistle? That means why they want to get involved into whistleblowing behavior. Now I want to explore that. Already such kind of researches has happened in the West. But if I talk about India, the cultural dynamics are very, very different. Society is very, very different. The way we perceive things, that is also very, very different. So definitely the way nurses are behaving, you can say in US, for example, they might not behave in a similar manner in India. So what are their motivators and what are their demotivators for getting involved in the whistleblowing behavior? I hope I'm making some sense. Any questions? So this is how I have to, so depending on my research, you can say objective, I have to understand that why I want to do it. So in short, some concluding it. So qualitative research is largely subjective, hypothesis generated inductive. It seeks, you can say, to describe, understand, explore, discover, generate, examine, and to answer the questions of why something is happening, how it's happening, and what. That is what about experiences. So when I talk about the experiences, I cannot measure it, especially through the quantitative research. I have to somewhat, you can say, I have to get into qualitative if I have to understand this kind of thing. Now, these are certain 5 things when you talk about narrative research. This is also known as narrative inquiry. In many places, you will going to see. So I have already shared one paper of mine that is on narrative inquiry. Then ethnography, where I want to understand, you can say the culture, and I want to understand the culture, you can say that why people behave in a certain manner, how they're experiencing it, and somewhere the researchers become part of it. Similarly, the grounded theory, when something novel has been there, and I want, you can say, a kind of a groundbreaking research also comes from the grounded theory itself. Where I want to propose something novel, case study, that could be some past phenomena, you can say, which I want to study. And from that particular study, I want to understand and predict the behavior of the people in a certain manner. Like, for example, people behave in a certain manner, especially during COVID. So if similar kind of situation comes again, somewhere you can say the case study, the case of COVID-19 can somewhat guide me that, okay, if the similar kind of situation is happening, how people might behave. I still remember one of my paper is already in review on COVID-19 and where I was trying to understand the work-life balance of females, you can say, working women in India. Now in that, we talk to a lot many females, especially from the public sector, also from the private sector also, and then we want to study that what kind of work routine they had, what kind of experiences they had, what kind of learning they had, and lot many other things. Now, because the paper is taking a lot of time, so the reviewer asked me that, okay, because COVID has already gone, how your research on COVID now will be relevant. And that is a tricky question that I have to, you can say, I have to justify that how my research is actually valid in today's time also. Definitely, the the study on COVID definitely can guide me. Similar kind of situation happens in future also. Somewhat, at least I can get an idea that, okay, people behave in certain kind of a manner. So definitely this could be the kind of a similar behavior that we can experience. Not exactly, but similar experiences we can experience, you can say, in the future also. So somewhat you can say, I have to justify. When I talk about the phenomena, so these are, you can say, somewhat hidden. At times, some phenomena is visible, while some phenomena is not visible. So I have to talk to people and I have to understand that and when you talk about the phenomena, so I have to understand the lived in experiences of the people. So largely the Smith has worked a lot on phenomenology, where they have started researching a lot of, you can say, the healthcare patients and the nurses. There's a beautiful research, and I'll share it with all of you, where there was a research done, you can say, on the AIDS patient caregivers, you can say. The research was not on the AIDS patient, but on the caregivers of the AIDS patient. And in that research, the researcher has said that, okay, I am with the, you can say, with the respondents from, you can say, from year one till the time. And in many cases, even that AIDS patient had died also. So that means they have studied their journey, you can say, from the very starting, that when the disease was diagnosed, for example, during the process, what was the journey? When the person passed away, what was the journey? And what kind of emotional turbulence, you can say, or what kind of emotion was experienced by the caregiver, especially. So that gives me a lot of insight that when such kind of disease is being experienced, you can say, is being encountered in a family, that what is the mental state, you can say, of the family members or the caregivers, and definitely what kind of things we can plan, especially if they are working in our organizations, so that we can create a better environment where they can perform well, because there are certain things which is beyond our control, but how we can work on that. So somewhat you can say these different qualitative research types helps me to understand and address my research questions in an effective manner, depending what I want to study. So it's again phenomenological. These are qualitative research design, which I've already discussed. So this is a little bit, you can say, explanation if I talk about. So phenomenological, examining human experiences through description, we are provided by the people involved. So these experiences are called lived experiences. And the phenomena is very simple. I want to describe the meaning, what experience hold for each subject. Now, for example, you all are here, you are attending this particular FDP. So let me take this experience, take this example only. Now, the number which I'm having right now, 30, 40 people who are there in this particular session, the resource person is same, but your experience, will that be same? Or that will be different? Anyone?
Different, sir.
It will be different. So that simply means that the resource person is same, session is same, but still my experience is different. So if I want to do this kind of a research, all right, so this kind of research is generally is done in certain areas in which there is a little knowledge. Like for example, talk about, for example, drug behavior. That okay, why young generation is getting more into drug abuse, for example. All right. Or I want to understand, for example, you can say the sexual behavior of LGBT community. Now, these are certain things which are not openly available. But I want to study that. I want to understand their life. I want to understand them. So, for example, for that, I can go for this particular kind of a study, phenomenological studies. So when I talk about the ethnography, I'm talking about the collection and analysis of data about cultural groups. Like, for example, I want to understand that, okay, people belonging to a certain tribe. Indians, for example. But when we talk about Indians, Indians are also having different tribes. You can say North Indians are very different from South Indians. South Indians are very different from people living in the West and the people living in the East. So ethnography, when we talk about, you can define it as a systematic process of observing, detailing and describing, documenting, analyzing the life phase or particular patterns of a culture. That what kind of culture people are having. Like for example, if we talk about Maharashtra, the way people celebrate their festivals there, like for example, we take Ganesh Chaturthi or we take Diwali, for example. Diwali is celebrated across India, correct? And across world. But the way Diwali is celebrated in the various parts, is it different or is it same? It's different. So every ethnic group is having their way of celebrating a particular festival, for example. And if I want to understand their life phase or particular patterns of a culture, I would like to go with ethnographic studies, where I want to study the culture. Grounded theory. Basically, this approach is developed by two sociologists, that is Glaser and Strauss. And these are the basically theories which are studies in which data are collected, analyzed, and then theory is developed that is grounded in the data. So I want to do a theory development. For theory development, I would like to go for grounded theory. Now, there is one research paper which is recently published and I have shared with everyone. That is a C-suite research paper. They have used grounded theory research, grounded theory there. So I recommend everyone to please just read that. Right? So when I talk about the historical studies, so definitely there are a lot many evidences in the past. Now, like for example, we have recently this movie Chava, right? Which is there in these, you can say in the theaters. Now, with this historical research, I want to understand, you can say the events of the past, but to relate these past happenings to the present and to the future. That why certain things are happening in a certain manner. So at times we say the history repeats itself. So are there certain patterns? Can I derive some evidences or you can say some patterns from the past, which I can relate with the present? When I talk about the case studies, in-depth examination of people or group of people. So I'll give you one example here. Like in Tata Institute of Social Sciences, there are PhDs which are also there on 2 respondent or even on 1 respondent. Interesting. So that is a case study based research, where I have taken one organization, where I have taken, you can say, one protagonist, where I have taken particular event, and I want to study it. So it may be considered quantitative, qualitative, depending on the purpose of the study and the design that has been chosen by the researcher. Now, action research, as already discussed, type of qualitative research that seeks action to improve practice and study the effect of the action that was taken. So what kind of action I can take so that whatever the issue I'm facing, I can just fix it. Any questions up till here, please?
So
So
one
if
of
we
the
are clear,
participant is having some questions. Navili Sharma has written something in the chat box.
okay.
Good evening, sir. So actually, I want to know, since considering I am doing mainly my qualitative study around Indian nurses. So
Okay.
considering the cultural factor that comes across them, I mean, I'm trying to see their perceptions and their challenges within the healthcare sector.
Okay.
So in that case, would it be an ethnographic study?
No, that will be more phenomenological studies because we want to understand their perception, their experiences. Navili, are you there? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I think, Navili, I hope I am able to answer your question.
Yes, yes, you are, but main aspect of it is that considering there's this context of culture coming into it, so that
Okay.
makes me a bit confused. Even though I'm taking the experiences of nurses, however, due to the cultural part of it, because I cannot objectify that the experience of one Indian nurses are going to be similar to that of an American nurse.
Okay.
So hence,
Yes.
and then if I
Okay.
use multi-model approach, so in order to triangulate my findings,
Right. Yeah, that
so
works
that makes
better.
me
That works better. Reason being, see, when you only talk about experiences, or you can say the lived-in experiences, largely when you talk about Naveli, so it's more about phenomenology, right? But when I talk about a particular, I want to study about the culture, the kind of culture you can say, the culture the nurses experiences in their medical fraternity, especially in India. So I want to study their cultural aspect. So if I'm moving more towards the cultural aspect, definitely I'm moving more towards ethnography. Right? But if I'm moving more towards experiences, then I have to move towards the phenomenology. That okay, what is their understanding and how it is impacting their behavior.
Okay, so that means if I go towards, I mean, in phenomenological approach, so it's more surrounding towards attitudes, experiences, and
Yes,
perception. Whereas if
absolutely.
I'm going towards ethnography, so here, somewhere or the other, I am seeing the consequence in terms of the impact in the human behavior.
Yeah,
Am
and
I
definitely
understanding
the
it correct?
largely the impact of culture. If you'd say
Okay.
that why nurses in a US they behave in a certain manner, because the kind of culture, the national culture they are being into, right? That is also impacting their experiences, their behavior. No?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So these are certain more very popular, you can say, research methods. So participants observation, where I'm not asking any questions, but I'm simply observing it. Right? So largely the psychologist, you can say, especially during the interviews, they're not asking any questions, but they're observing the body language. They understand, they're just observing, you can say, the way the person is doing the conversation. So only observation,
Hmm.
right? That is the naturally occurring behaviors in their usual context. When we talk about the in-depth interviews, so where I want to collect, you can say, data on individuals' personal histories,
Interesting,
perspectives,
interesting.
experiences, particularly when sensitive topics have been explored. Now, for example, I'll give you one situation. Now you tell me which one will going to form in that particular part. If I want to understand or I want to do research, you can say on the domestic violence, right? Now, is this a sensitive topic? First question.
Yes, sir, it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is a sensitive topic, right? So
Yes.
now, so for this, should I go for observation or I have to talk to a person in private?
Private.
Sir, obviously private only.
What's harm if it is happening in front of everyone? We can see that there is so much rift is there in the family. Lot many incidents are coming in, but still we want to go and talk to them in person, right? Especially when in private, where they can express themselves well, right? So if I really want to deep dive into it, I have to go for in-depth interviews. But if I just want to take the surface, you can say participants observation, where I am part of the family, I want to observe certain things. I'm not saying anything. I'm just observing. But on the basis of the observation, I just want to collect my data and then accordingly, I'm just trying to identify certain patterns, you can say, in the usual context. Now, when we talk about the focus group, so when I want to understand, you can say the data on the cultural norms of a group, that why people move towards more to work as a team or why they don't want to work as a team, right? If I want to understand team behavior, why people behave in a certain way, I want to understand the issues, their concern to the cultural groups. So for definitely, I can go for focus groups where I can talk to, you can say 8 to 10 or 12 people at once and I can understand their viewpoints. Now, these are certain data which I'm using, and that is field notes, audio and the video recordings, and transcript. But all these things need to be done by prior permission, right? There has to be a prior permission. Nowadays, especially when you're doing the qualitative research, so when you're submitting a paper, so there comes a disclaimer that have you taken permission from the ethics committee? Right? Or have you got the permission to conduct this particular study and to reproduce the results? And in that, you have to give an undertaking, you have to tell that, okay, why ethics clearance is needed and why it is not needed. So because the kind of data which is involved in your research, that makes a lot of sense that whether you need that clearance or not from the committee. Does it make some sense?
So could you please repeat on this again?
Okay. Now I'm saying in lot many researches, when you start communicating your paper, so they're asking, you can say, they're asking for certain things, right? For example, that, okay, have you taken clearance or approval from the ethics committee to conduct this particular research? Yes or no? If yes, then give the reason. And if no, why? So they want answer. Why way they're taking it? Because the kind of data which is, you can say, been observed, taken in that particular research, that makes a lot of difference into it. Like, for example, what kind of answer I have wrote? I have wrote because I don't need any clearance from the ethics committee for the simple reason, because I have, you can say, I have done the coding, and because of that particular, because of coding, you can say, lot of the data has been anonymized, where you can say the personal identification is not there, and there's a minimal risk to the participant. So definitely, there's a less harm. So definitely, I don't need it. But somewhere we're doing some experiment, you can say, on the human behavior, where the information is identifiable, which can harm them. Definitely for there you need ethics clearance committee. Committee clearance is required. For example, you are studying, you can say, the domestic violence behavior. For that, definitely, can you disclose the name of the person on whom you are conducting the research?
Not, of course not, sir.
No,
Of
sir.
course not. Any reasons for that?
Sir, why would somebody disclose the identity on these sensitive issues?
No, suppose I want to, if I'm disclosed, so is there any harm?
Yes, sir, there can be a social harm to him or
Yes,
her.
there will be a lot of harm to the well-being of that particular person. So I
Yes.
have to make sure that my research is actually not harming anyone. So for that, I have to make sure that the kind of data I'm using and how I'm presenting it. Now just moving, let's just wind it up. So these are certain other ways of collecting the data, a little bit more, you can say, detailed one. So observation, field notes, protocols have been there, coding and analysis, transcripts I'm doing. So record keeping, case studies, observations, qualitative surveys. These are very common ways of collecting the qualitative data. Now, what are the advantages which I'm getting here? The advantages is that it provides me in-depth understanding. It's given me a lot of flexibility, contextualization, lot of rich data has been there. Then lot of engagement has been there. You try to get lot of multiple perspectives, and the realistic setting has been there, or you can say the realistic setting has been there. So these are the qualitative data collection, you can say, advantages. So I can get that information about such things which I may not receive, especially when I am collecting the data through a questionnaire. Question in the sense where I'm having a predefined questions where I'm asking and then I'm doing it. Now, these are certain disadvantages also we talk about. So, relies on the knowledge of researchers at times. So, researcher bias can peep into it, but we need to minimize it. And at times, the data collection take a lot of multiple sessions because in one go, you might not get the data. And let me tell you, data collection is the most challenging part in the qualitative research. Because at times it happens that people may not open up to give you the data because they don't trust you. So first, the trust building is so important, and that is why lot many sessions are required at times to collect the data. Then the difference in opinion leads to different data interpretation. But yes, definitely that is why when the coding is been done by 2 or 3 researchers simultaneously, then definitely thematic analysis, when the theme identification happens, that gives us better insights. Data analysis time consuming because it's not that simple, that it's not numerical, but it's a very, you can say, deep diving has to be done so that we can understand it, and it's really time taking. Results are difficult to replicate because the results of quality data are not generalizable because the sample size is very small. And then lack of statistical representation, that is why many people are not liking qualitative research must. But somewhere, if I want to understand the actual, that why such things are happening, so definitely I have to take the help, you can say, of qualitative. Now, these are, if I talk about the phenomenology, so I'll just finish it, take this off. So, phenomenology, approach of qualitative inquiry that is grounded in certain traditions, or you can say the philosophy, and humanities, and the aims to reflect on the pre-reflecting human experiences. Now, This helps builds on assumption that the universal essence of anything ultimately depends on how its audience experiences it. So I'm just playing this video. Just can you see my screen?
Welcome to an explainer on phenomenology.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
At its most basic, phenomenology is the study of lived experience. As its name suggests, phenomenology is concerned with the study
Can you please
of
check on the
phenomena
volume
that
once?
arise from the experience of being
Yeah.
in the world. The development of modern phenomenology, established by
Voice is not there?
Earlier
Sir,
volume
voice.
was less, but now later on it was fine, sir.
Okay, okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Phenomenology is the study of lived experience. As its name suggests, phenomenology is concerned with the study of phenomena that arise from the experience of being in the world. The development of modern phenomenology, established by Edmund Husserl in the early 20th century, was a break from the Cartesian system that pitched stark distinctions between the outer, real reality and the individual experience of reality. Following the Cartesian principle, outer reality is a separate and distinct entity that can only be understood in rational terms through cognitive processes of deduction. Sense perception was thought to distort this process, and certainly emotions were considered a lower form of experience emanating from the recesses of the body. In contrast, phenomenology seeks to understand the outside world as it is interpreted by and through human consciousness. Ontologically speaking, that means speaking in terms of how philosophers understand the nature of being and existence. Husserl purported that reality could be grasped by and through structures of consciousness by applying what he called intentionality to the object of study, or intentionally directing one's focus to describe realities. For Husserl, to achieve deeper understanding of an object of study, a researcher could quarantine their personal judgments, a process called bracketing, so that preconceived notions do not interfere with the phenomenological inquiry. It is at this point that Martin Heidegger's approach breaks with Husserl's process. In fact, Heidegger was very critical of Husserl's phenomenology, where Husserl sought to capture objects of study as graspable entities that could be objectively studied. Heidegger employed the notion of Dasein, the situated meaning of a human in the world. For Heidegger, consciousness is a product or construction of the historical context from which it arises, and in turn, one can never approach an object of study in a presuppositionless form. That is, objects of study cannot be neatly separated from their contexts, nor should they be. Reality and consciousness are co-creations, and because of this, human understanding always arises from the relationship between the two acting upon each other. Thank you for watching.
So this is the one which we talked about. So largely we're talking about the living experiences in this one. So why we are using it? So I largely research, you can say, on phenomenology, but yes, I use other method also. But I connect myself more with this one for the simple reason, because when you rely on the experiences, you are in a better position to record and analyze the belief and the feelings and the perception. And the only view and the best part of this particular methodology is that the researchers' views are not important in this, but largely we are only reporting the audience view. That means the people who have experienced the phenomena. The researcher's personal assumption and perception about the phenomena should be irrelevant. I might be thinking something, but whatever you can say my respondents, you can say, are thinking, that has to be reported and that becomes part of it. So when I'm conducting this, in-depth understanding of the audience thoughts and perception becomes very essential. And it also goes deeper than broad, unlike quantitative research. So finding the lived experiences of the phenomenon in question depends on interpretation and analysis. Now, I'm not going with the history part. I'll just share this with all of you. So purpose, why I want to do it, like of this particular, so audience interpretation, lack of researcher bias or prior influence, and emphasis on research insights. That is in-depth describing the phenomena through the eyes of the audience. And that is what connecting objectivity with the living experiences. Now, these are the types, you can say the social scientists say that there are 3 types to it. And the one is existential, that is focusing on the understanding the audience experiences through their perspective. Hermeneutics, that is focusing on creating meaning from the experience through audience perspective. And the third is transcendental phenomenology, that focuses on how phenomena appears in one consciousness on a broader scientific scale. So definitely when I am choosing my research questions, it all depends on these particular 3 types, that what basically I want to focus upon. Now, this is basically the process that I would like to follow. This is very much similar. So first I have to identify the research problem, and then I have to identify the phenomenon I want to study and describe it, and then identifying the specific research and assumptions and for phenomenology, collecting data over multiple settings, analyzing, generating themes, writing textual and structural description of the phenomena, and writing a composite description, finding common themes, and then present the findings in the written form. Now, these are 2 things, ma'am. Now, all of you, please make sure of this, because we are using both inductive and deductive, especially in the research. So inductive, when I talk about it, is bottom-up approach. So there what I'm doing, I am developing theories from observation. So where there your grounded theory comes in. So when I'm using this grounded theory approach, so definitely with the help of those observation, I can propose a theory. So it is used in exploratory studies. This is more flexible and adaptable to new findings and relies more on qualitative analysis. While when I talk about the deductive approach, it is top-down. Already things have been there. I want to test the theories through observation. For example, JDR theory has been there or stakeholder theory has been there. I'm trying to use confirmatory studies. I'm structuring, you can say, structured and more systematic, and then relies on more quantitative. Now that is specific to general when we talk about to inductive, and when we talk about the deductive, that is from existing to specific. So these are certain data collection tools. Generally, we are using observing, interviewing, focus group, recording conversations, analyzing personal text and observation, and that is how we are moving ahead. Now, limitations are also been there because sample size is small, especially in all the qualitative researches. The research bias is difficult to avoid because you are having your own experiences also, and at times there are some prejudice also. But the bias can contaminate the entire outcome, but that is why when 2 or 3 people are working together on a particular topic and when they are coding, so generally what happens, we try to, you can say, control, you can say, the bias in the research itself. Moreover, audience experience, accuracy depends entirely on how well the audience can express those experiences and feelings. And finally, the results of the phenomenal study can be difficult to summarize and present due to its qualitative nature. And yes, time consuming. So interpreting data can take days and weeks. So these are some reporting qualitative formats that, okay, what kind of formats I should be using in, especially when I'm reporting, you can say qualitative studies. So I will be sharing these formats with all of you. So these are the one which they have used. So these are the features. And what could be the sample size for this one? That is 4 to 15. The sample size is enough, especially when you go for you can say IPA methodology. It is and widely been used in health sciences, but now we are using it in various other studies, like in education and whatnot. And sample selection becomes very, very critical when we are selecting the participants for the research studies. Now, these are certain, you can say, questions that can come in front of us, which we would like to answer. For example, how do people with genetic conditions, you can say, view changing medical technologies? What is the relationship between delusions and personal goals? How do people come to terms with death of a partner? Now, these are certain questions I think we don't get the answers to these questions, specifically when we want to go with a quantitative one. So what model of the person do priests have? So how does being HIV impact on personal relationships? Now, these are certain things you can say the questions that largely been addressed, especially when you're talking about the qualitative one. And these are, when you talk about the phenomenology, it also combining, you can say the hermeneutics, that is theory of interpretation, ideography, that is the focus is on the individual. And to fully describe our lived-in experiences. And that is when it comes together, it basically talking about the IPA, that is interpretative phenomenological analysis. Now, these are the basic, you can say, the researchers who have, you can say, have a lot of impact on the phenomenological studies, and they would like to understand that, okay, what kind of contribution they are having. So in hermeneutics, we are having Heidegger, Gadamer, and Schleiermacher. And then these are the people, those who have worked about. And what is the aim? That is with detailed, thorough, and a systematic depth of analysis. And this is largely the 7 steps of IPA data analysis, which have been largely been used, and I'm also using it. So how to use it? So once you've collected data, you have read it, read the transcripts once again. And because every time you read it again, you will going to get something new information. Then there is some initial noting which is happening. There are some free association exploring semantic, that is identifying initial themes, that is developing emerging things have been there, searching for connection across emerging themes, moving to the next cases, then looking for patterns, and finally taking interpretation to the deeper levels. So this is largely, you can say, the methods, or you can say the steps that we are using especially.
So what is moving to the next case means what another person?
No. Case here, you can say the transcript.
Okay, so the transcript is basically a recorded, written version of what somebody has said.
Yeah,
so
it could
to
be
the next
video.
case means another person on.
Yeah, it could be video, ma'am. It could be anything, the way you have collected data, for example. So I'll come to that part also right
sir.
now.
And sorry to disturb you again.
No worries.
Sir, once you are through with this IPA process and whatever you're telling about IPA, can you please elaborate once more on inductive and deductive?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So I'll just move back. I'll take your question. See, when I talk about inductive research is that you don't know what will be the outcome, right? That I'm not aware that, okay, I am conducting a research, or what will be the outcome of that particular research, I'm not aware. I'm not sure about it. So I am conducting research, the outcome is not known. So that's very novel. So, so when I think if we were largely people are from the management studies, so they have heard about the Hawthorne studies, right? So Hawthorne studies were basically an experiment where they want to see that, okay, whether the lighting impact the productivity, correct? But nothing much was known. But during the process and the series of experiments which they have conducted, they got to know that, okay, why people behave, why people stay in a group? What motivates them to stay in a group? What kind of behavior changes we can see when people are working as an individual and when they're part of a group? Now, these are certain novel insights that basically helps, you can say, and that is why we got to know a lot many things about the human behavior, and that basically somewhat has been treated as the start of the human relations movement, and you can say the beginning of the HR movement. So somewhat you can say in inductive, that's a bottom-up approach where I want to develop theories from the observations, which is not known earlier. I'm not having any idea that what will be the outcome, but I have conducted particular research.
Deriving a theory from an observation.
Yes, absolutely. So that is basically inductive process, ma'am. Right? Deductive is largely been used, you can say, in the quantitative, but you can still use in qualitative. I'll give you one reason. I'll give you one example. I have shared one paper, whistleblowing intentions of nurses in India, right? So, lot of quantitative research has already happened that why people get into whistleblowing and why they don't want to get into whistleblowing. So I know the initial factors. So what I still want to know. So we already know that, okay, these are the factors, these are the reasons due to which people don't want to blow the whistle. But still you want to reconfirm that. You want to go deeper into it that, okay, if I'm taking, you can say, the interviews, when I am conducting researches, you can say again. So is there any other factor which is actually impacting? To your surprise, I'm very happy to share, during my research, we got to know two things. That the feeling of revenge also is one factor that people want to blow the whistle. Feeling of revenge, which was not earlier been reported in many researches, you can say. This is one new variable which we have identified. Feeling of revenge. So at times, so when you're doing a lot of research, so you got to know lot many other things also, which was earlier not part of it, right? So these are certain references. So now moving to the other part, that is one more presentation, a small one. So how AI has been now been utilized, right? So, and where to use it and where not to use it. So because the FDP is basically the use of AI in qualitative research. So what AI talking about? So we're trying to leverage, you can say, AI, that is machine learning and the natural language processing and the pattern recognition to analyze unstructured data. So now I'm having lot many, you can say, tools, right? With the help of which I can analyze the themes, I can identify, you can say, the initial themes, and I can work on it. So how role of AI, what is the role of AI in qualitative? Now, first is automating transcription. All right. Now, earlier, if I have to go and conduct an interview, so what generally we used to do? I go with a pen and paper. The person, you are asking question, and then I have to take the notes. Am I right? And that's a very difficult task because you are taking interview also. You have to take the notes also. Not that simple. Agree? That is the most difficult part. So what we can do, now there is a few softwares I will be telling you, which you please start exploring, and I'm going to help you. So automatic transcription. So what I can do, I can record, you can say, a conversation, and then it can automatically can be converted into transcript. All right, because ultimately I want to, you can say, analyze the transcript and to understand it, okay, what the phenomenon is all about. I want to identify themes and patterns. So definitely auto coding is now available in various softwares which we can utilize. We can perform sentiment analysis. That means, for example, I can do data mining. And for the data mining, for example, I want to understand, okay, what people think about hydrogen, you can say hydrogen fuel, for example, or hydrogen buses that will be rolled out soon in the future. So I want to understand their feelings about it. So I want to understand the sentiment. I want to understand that, okay, what people think about certain event or certain thing that has happened or certain person. Now, what is impact on research? That is enhancing my accuracy and efficiency, and definitely my time is getting reduced and my efforts are also getting reduced. Now, what are the benefits? So automated transcription tools reduce my manual effort. I can efficiently do coding and thematic analysis. And that is, AI can categorize and tags data automatically. So it sounds very interesting, but there is a catch. I will tell you that also. So it enhances my accuracy and consistency. Moreover, it is trying to minimizing the researcher's bias during analysis. That is the best part. And then the sentiment and the emotional analysis can also happen. And that can also help me in identifying the hidden emotions. All right. That is the anti, you can say the underlying current, you can say the anti emotions which have been there, which people have not expressed, but still I can identify, you can say, the hidden emotions and the patterns which have been there in the qualitative data. So scalability and speed, definitely I can analyze large volumes of data quickly.
Sir,
Yeah.
like
Any
softwares, you said that there are softwares for auto coding, but
Right.
very often we have observed that there is a problem that, in say Indian language or maybe our own words like roti, for example,
Right.
it does not take that. So
Right.
in case of AI, will it better take those things,
Yeah.
or
So
those problems will be lesser?
yeah. So what is happening? So as I was talking about, see, When I talk about AI, AI is very helpful to me. But somewhere I have to understand they are just to assist me. They cannot do my work. So at times, there's a misconception among the people, especially the researchers. Like for example, NVivo is one software, right? Now people think qualitative research means NVivo. That's not the case. Without software also, you can very well, you can conduct your qualitative researches. I don't need any kind of, you can say, software support, right? But for that, because I have to, because ultimately they can only give me, okay, these are the words which are largely been used. These are the kind of themes which are largely been emerging. But how to make sense out of it, that ultimate decision will be of the researcher, right? I'll show you something and that will be interesting part, right? So tools and softwares of quality data are generally very helpful to marketers and product managers and analysts that interpret and qualitative data. So definitely I am having text, I'm having audio, I'm having video, images that shed light on human experiences and feelings, and I can understand. So largely as a qualitative data. Now, why I'm using it? For data organization, for coding and tagging, for data retrieval, you can say. So that I can, if I want to retrieve the data, that okay, what kind of things have been there. If I want to retrieve specific data segments based on keywords or codes, that can further help me exploring the relevant information. So there are certain software like QDA has been there, right? QDA software, that is QDA Miner. So these may tools for creating word clouds, graphs बनाते हैं, charts बनाते हैं, बहुत सारे.
QDA is also paid, no? But
yeah, largely they are paid. So I'll help with the chat GPT only. I will tell you how to use it. The free version.
So, one query I have.
Yeah.
If we are using Chat GPT for the same, then it has to be disclosed while submitting the research or something. But that is not allowed. That how you can use it, it would be considered as plagiarism or something because something is taken from AI and you have just pasted it. So how to
Right.
deal with this?
Right. See, we have to understand what is the job of a software, Melita. The software only helps to give us the themes, for example, that the kind of the data that you have collected, these are the underlying words that have been largely used, right? I try to identify themes, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right. But ultimately, but largely, is that data making any sense? Is it actually matching with the research objective which I am doing? Because ultimately that work has to be done by the researcher only. That ChatGPT cannot do for you. Ultimately, the validation has to be done by the researcher only. That whether the kind of thematic, the themes that have been identified, is it correct? I have to use that.
So in extension with what just now Rachna said,
Yeah.
so while we validate, while it is our own work and it is the researcher to how will we justify what findings we have,
Right.
but still in top journals, maybe is it not a necessary kind of unsaid rule or tool that they will look forward to having a software or some knowledge from where how did we code it or not? Will
That's
that not
okay,
be the
ma'am.
case?
That is possible. Like for example, I can do the same thing with the help of ChatGPT. Like for example, before for this FDP, what I did, I took my transcripts, 2 transcripts, and I just uploaded it on ChatGPT, for example, and then I asked them that okay, give me a tabular representation where I can see what are the initial themes that have been identified, what are the overarching theme, that is second order themes, and then what are the final themes,
So
for
the
example.
terminology that you just used, your first order theme and second order theme, that you just wrote in the
Yeah, I
as a
just gave them
prompt.
the command. I gave a
Okay, as a
prompt.
prompt you wrote it that you
Yes.
figure out first
Yes,
order themes and
absolutely.
second order themes, and then you
Correct.
finally maybe reiterated on what you were supposed to do.
Now, I have done this only for 2 transcripts. But is it essential? And I'll show you that they are different. They are different. So ultimately now initial my work has been done that okay, in the transcript. So what you have to do is only ChatGPT will not going to read the transcript that you have procured. You also have to read that. Right? You have to read all your transcripts. And then whatever, and then when you're giving the command to the AI, for example, that okay, I want this kind of results. So you have to check that okay, whether this thing is coming. Are you getting my point? So there has to be cross-validation. This cannot be that I can only rely on ChatGPT and my work is done. No.
Sir, just a request. Would you show us how you
Yes,
have
I will
done
do that.
this?
Yes, I'll do.
But sorry, once again, sorry, the same thing. That
Yeah.
can we write it in the paper that you use ChatGPT for that? We can do
You
that.
can write it that, for example, that for initial identifying of the themes of the data, I have used this, but ultimately the work is done by the researchers, all right? And the work is the original work of the research. So you have to give an undertaking, ma'am. So nobody is denying that. They are simply saying the research idea has to be original. It should not be written by AI only. It has to be written by you. See, ultimately it works as your assistant. But it should not be like that. The entire thing is done by the AI only, and you are claiming that okay, the paper is written by me. That's the difference, right? So ultimately, you have to identify that.
So basically, the mental work needs to be reflected in what we are writing.
Absolutely, yes.
Instead
Absolutely.
of that, instead of just AI.
Yeah.
Sir,
So
when
like, for example, I'll give you one more example. Like when I was working, so I got a lot of comments, you can say, on my paper that, okay, these are certain things. Now, with the help of AI, I just want to understand, okay, what are the other things that I can do? This is my paper. Already I've written my paper. My original draft is with me. So when I'm putting, you can say that paper that, okay, this is what I am. So what are the other things can be done? So they are giving me the prompts that, okay, this can be done. Now they're giving me n number of options. Now, which option works well for the research which I am conducting, that only I can decide. The AI cannot decide on your behalf. See, ultimate decision has to be taken by you only as a researcher, right? I'll just show you that how it works.
Sir, one more query I have regarding to this.
Yeah.
Sir, whenever we are running Turnitin, if let's say I have just given the prompt to ChatGPT that what could be the possible first order themes or first
Right.
order codes or second order themes or code for my research, and that is giving me 5 6 themes, and when I am analyzing I am also coming across more or less similar
Right.
themes, and I am putting it in my paper. When I am using Turnitin, sometimes it shows that probably there might be AI generated text. So, sir, that is not allowed in anywhere. This is not allowed. So, what should be done in that case? That's my work. But if I have taken the help of this and both are representing the same word or same
Reason
themes,
being, I'll
how
just
to
tell you one.
justify?
Right. So somewhere, Rachna, what we have to understand here is when I am running AI, so definitely whatever the text you are given to it, right? So what they will do, it will going to pick up certain words, you can say. They will try to identify the themes and all that. But largely, there's a lot of repository which it is having in its database, right? It will start mapping from there. So what happened when I generate the initial themes, when I come to the second order themes, and when I come to the final themes. So the final themes nomenclature will be decided by me, that the AI will not going to do. What the problem is with the researcher is that whatever the AI is generating, now they just take it as it is. That's the problem. That's the
Okay.
issue.
Sir, but
And I
some
show you
words,
that what I
some
have done.
headings would be same, na sir? कुछ तो same
No, it won't be
होंगी.
same.
For
It won't be.
example, one theme has come across like work culture. How
Right?
can I change this work culture? I have to write this word only.
See, so if the work culture is a generic theme, for example, it's a generic theme, correct?
Yes, yes.
It's a generic thing. So definitely it will not going to come in AI also. It's very common because this has also been, you can say, been identified in the past researches also. So when I'm talking about the identification of the themes, so it's not about all the similar themes that have been generated in the past also, but it is also about, you can say, the themes which I'm generating right now, but there might be some kind of outliers which the past researchers have not, you can say, have identified. And that is what I want to do with the data analysis, especially when I'm doing the qualitative data analysis. When I show you, you will understand.
Means that culture must not be written in my research in that case.
No, you can write it very much. You can write it, but that could be, you can say, the part of the initial, you can say, themes which are identified. But when you will go to the second order themes, it might be getting merged to some other variable. And when you're going to the final theme, that might be becoming part of some other variable, right? So first order, second order, and the final order themes, when you're moving, see, it starts submusing. All right, subsuming in each other. So I
Yes, sir.
have to identify. So it's not necessary that what AI is providing to me, I will also going to have the similar kind of understanding. So I have to be very mindful when I'm doing this kind of thing.
Means researcher creativity must come into the picture at the end.
Absolutely. Anytime, every time. See, AI is just an assistant. Always remember. Yeah, Kiran ma'am.
Thank you, sir. My question is, I'm little hesitant when, for example, it's my research, my work, draft is ready, and I'm putting it on chat GPT, everything. So I'm little hesitant that whether later when I'm, checking my similarity or I'm submitting my paper somewhere, maybe it all comes as AI generated. So what's the hack for that? Is
See,
like,
ma'am,
is it
largely it happens because I have like curated, I have submitted lot many papers and I have utilized it. So what I generally used to do, like I put my text over there, then I delete it also from there because largely it is not, it is going in repository, right? But it's in my account only.
yes?
It is in my account
Okay.
only. And largely, if
Okay.
we talk
Okay.
about the Grammarly, for instance, Grammarly also doing the same thing, right? It is checking the grammar, it
Right.
is suggesting you certain things, but that is allowed.
Right.
So that is what I said now for the language refinement, that is perfectly okay. See, ma'am, from AI written text is very, very different because it's very
Okay.
common, which you can see. Especially when I am doing a particular kind of researches, right? Because the language which AI uses and the kind of language which human is using, that is very, very different. You will agree with that, right? So
Yes,
that is
definitely.
easily identifiable. That's one thing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
originality, so they are not denying that, okay, you cannot use AI, but they're saying that, okay, where you have to use AI, where you should not use AI, that thought process should be there in yourself. That means you need to be mindful about that,
Yes.
right?
So that means it is safer to put my draft
Yeah,
in
that's not a problem
ChatGPT.
because I have done,
Okay.
because I'll tell you, I have published 2, 3 papers. Already I have submitted one paper already that's in review itself, right? And one already got published, which I'm talking about maternity one. So initially themes identification, everything I have done. So yes, there was few things which you can say past researches are also showing. But when as a researcher, I am going to the transcript, there were certain things also, as I told you, feeling of a revenge. That was not given in any past literature also. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
came when and because you can say it's not coming, you can say in largely in all the you can say transcripts which have been there, but that is also very prominent part which came. But that also become a very prominent theme when I made my final order themes, you can say. For that, AI might miss on it. So as a researcher, then I have to very, very, like you can say, vigilant and very careful,
Yeah.
especially when working on that part.
Right, absolutely. Because I tried it with one of my student assignment that, okay, let me take the feedback, how AI will give the feedback. And
Right.
it gave some feedback was good, but some was like a wrong feedback, right? So that's very true that we have to cross-reference, we have to cross-check
I'll
it
give you one
because it,
simple,
yeah.
I'll give you one very simple example. Yesterday, I had to submit one paper for proofreading, this maternity one. I have some proofreading I have to do. So what I did, I asked, okay, generate the references in APA format. Now, it
Yeah.
generated, and then I asked it, okay, give me DOIs also. That means online links also. You won't believe, few DOIs were actually correct, but few DOIs were incorrect.
True that, yeah.
That
It's
means
hallucinate,
I
yeah.
cannot blindly, you can say, trust AI. So I have to do
Yeah,
my homework very, very carefully, especially when I am doing my qualitative research, especially. So it can be
exactly.
only, you can say, helpful. So when I'm mindful about it, I cannot completely rely, you can say, on the ultimately, you can say, the themes that I'm identifying. And that is why when 2 or 3
Exactly.
people are working together, so definitely when they start coding, so definitely results when they start some using it. So then we can initiate, okay, these are certain things that we have identified. Then these are second order, third order, and accordingly it can go on, right? So we need to be a little
Exactly.
careful about it.
Sir,
Sure.
one
Thank
more
you so
thing.
much.
Yeah.
One more thing, sir. Sir, it means we can use it for sentence rearrangement and
Yes, we can
grammatical
do that.
purpose. In that case, it would not said that it would be AI generated.
No, ma'am.
In
For
Turnitin.
example, I'll give you, ma'am. Rachna, ma'am, there is a prompt which has been given. For example, uh, you have written a particular text, correct? So
Yes,
what
sir.
you can do, correct the sentence or make this sentence better without changing language.
Okay.
So when you're giving this particular prompt, so language, the way you write, right? It will
Yes,
remain
sir.
same, the language, the flow, everything will be similar, but it won't be, AI will only going to just curate it grammatically. That's it.
So that is allowed, na?
Yes, that is allowed. Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
Ultimately,
you
अगर
would
ऐसा
be,
करेंगे मैम फिर तो Grammarly में तो पूरा AI आएगा because it is also AI based.
yes, sir. Sir, you would be showing us how to do
I'll
all
just show
this
you.
because we
Yeah.
have never done that.
I'll show you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Just the coding and
Just a
coding
last
and
question. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dr. Shi.
no, it's
Yeah,
okay.
I've been.
Okay.
So you'll teach us coding.
Please go on.
I'll tell you. Okay, so these are certain things that we're looking for. So
Professor
querying,
Albinda
annotation,
wanted to say something, sir.
Yeah.
I will very quickly put a
Yes,
point. I am from a non-academic background. Like I'm a professional in the sense, but not with the academics. So my question may be a little layman's type. So,
No worries.
but of course, I belong to the IT background. So my point is that while I was little extra cautious about using the AI, as there was a plethora of questions and points rightly pointed out. So number one is that yes, I also buy the idea that maybe calculator was not being used when I was in the board, but now it is being used. So AI is the future. So those kind of contents and reference will be there. So come what may. My point is that number one, I was being made understood that if your paper or otherwise being influenced or being even if being edited from any of these AI portals may get identified with any of the recognizing softwares. Number one. Number two is that there must be, as you rightly said, and you must be right, that when you said that the AI can be used responsibly while representing your paper, and you can jolly well mention that they had been sourced or influenced from the ideas of the AI, and it is, of course, it is nothing bad in that. There must be some kind of write-outs from the authorities or the standards. We will be very happy in case you can give us strength by sharing those kind of articles too.
Sure. Absolutely. So largely for cross-referencing and all these things, I'm using it. So these are certain tools. So I'll suggest everyone, especially
What is
author.
cross-referencing?
Okay, this one, last one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So cross-referencing basically has been tools that often include features that help in cross-referencing, that examine core connection relationship between different parts of the data set. Right? So that means at times it happens there is an overlap and there is might be a kind of a complex patterns. So this helps me in uncovering that complex patterns and building a deeper understanding of the data that okay, certain thing is happening, but that is happening because of certain reason. So cross-referencing that okay, this thing has happened because that thing happened in the past or that thing is occurring there. Right? So I want to build in connections between two unrelated things which generally is not visible.
So that can be done with the help of AI tools, you mean to say?
We can do that.
Sir, actually.
Now, this is one AI tool which I'm giving you. First is Otter AI. So especially when you people are conducting an interview with anyone, especially if an online interview you are taking, so you just create an account on Otter AI. Any one of you have used it? Hello?
No. Yes, I have used it earlier.
Okay. So those who have used it, so you might have seen that once the meeting is ended, so then automatically the transcripts come in, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the best for interviews, lectures, and the focus groups that you want to use it. And it's free of cost. You need not to pay anything. It works very well with your Gmail account. And accordingly, then you can do it. Even the Zoom platform which I'm using, it is showing the meeting has been transcribed for AI Companion. So AI is everywhere. So even there are a lot many research papers where the researchers are saying that, okay, we have utilized AI in our paper preparation. So that is acceptable, but you have to give, you can say, a declaration that the entire paper is not written by AI, but written by you, right? But you have taken help at certain stages. right? Now, these are certain other tools that you can use, that is Rave, that high accuracy transcription services have been there. Then Sonix has also been there, that also provide AI generated summaries and keyword tagging. And then these are the tools which you have already used it. But yes, at times these are very, NVivo is very popular. So which we are using for pattern and relation recognition, Max QDA, and Atlas Tier data is also, you can say, the parent company, same for all these softwares, you can say. And then monkey learn is also been there for sentiment analysis and emotion detection. For example, if I want to work on that, where I'm using NLP models, for example, for text and speech analysis, right? Sentiment, tone, and context in the large data sets. Lexicalytics has been there. Monkey learn has been there. So you can explore. So I'll just share this with all of you. And then this is also for the pattern recognition and thematic analysis, that is mixed methods. If you want to go with a mixed method, so on NVivo also that's possible, and Deduce is also one way you can use. Then Quicos is there, Rapid Miner is there, where you can use this particular softwares, you can say, for pattern recognition, thematic analysis. One word of caution. Now these things will going to do certain things, but what you have to do with the kind of output they are generating, that has to be done by the researcher only. AI will not going to do anything on your behalf. They will help you with the initial coding, for example. They will going to help you with the initial theme identification. But ultimately, you have to decide that, okay, which data has to be utilized and which data will not be utilized. And these are some predictive analytics and the hypothesis generation tools, that is H20 AI, NIME analytics platform, Orange data mining for qualitative data sets, if I want to use this. So, but there are certain ethical considerations. When I talk about data privacy and confidentiality, that is very, very crucial, especially in, you can say, qualitative data. There is at times sensitive data, so you have to make sure that it's not getting leaked and you're not sharing it in public. AI bias and interpretations have been there, so you have to ensure diversity in AI models, and then maintaining human oversight. That is the last one. If you are over relying on AI, definitely that will be a problem, especially for the nuanced data interpretation. And definitely when talk about this hypothesis generation, I can do instant analysis with the Voter AI. That's a beautiful platform. So once the interview is complete, and then you can say, okay, A said this and B said this, and ultimately it gives you a summary. So ultimately you get to know that, okay, how things will be there. And I'll show you some sheets also that how it appears. So AI-enabled visual storytelling, where you can say pattern identification, I can word clouds I can make. And finally, but these are the limitations. There's a contextual understanding. AI can't understand the context. So you have to interpret the cultural nuances, that why certain things are happening. So here AI can't help you, but you have to apply your own brain. You can't over rely on the automation, because ultimately, otherwise, what will happen? You will be losing deep insights from the human interpretation. So largely, whenever I am analyzing data, I do it manually first. It okay? Apart from initially when I'm doing, you can say reading the transcripts. So first, initially, I try to look at what this person is largely talking about. Like respondent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number of interviews I've taken. And then the continuous improvements have been there, so they cannot be completely, we can work on. So definitely what we can do is we can combine AI with human expertise. So AI should assist, they cannot replace human judgment. You have to understand that. And then pre-processing the cleaning data is also essential for accurate AI analysis, because your data is flawed, you won't get good results. And then regular model evaluation has to be there. So AI enhances qualitative research by improving accuracy, speed, and consistency. They are valuable, but very, very essential part, as you could see, human oversight remains critical. That means you cannot follow AI blindly. So this is one reference which I'm using. So thank
तो
you.
इसमें क्लीनिंग डेटा कैसे होता है?
क्लीनिंग डेटा का मतलब ये है कि सपोज करिए, लाइक जनरली आपके जितने भी टूल्स आप इस्तेमाल करते हैं, उसमें सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अगर आपने इंटरव्यू हिंदी में लिया हुआ है तो उसको ट्रांसक्राइब करने में बहुत दिक्कत करेगा, क्योंकि उसको टर्म समझ में नहीं आएंगे। ये प्रॉब्लम आती है। ये एनवीओ के साथ एक इश्यू था। तो
तो वो ऑटो कोडिंग तो नहीं हो सकता ना इन दैट केस।
राइट, ऑटो कोडिंग नहीं हो पाएगा उस केस में, तो वहां पे प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है। तो उस केस में क्या है, आई अंडरस्टैंड ना कि व्हाट दैट पर्सन वांट्स टू से, फॉर एग्जांपल, राइट, कि उसने क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं। अब आपको आई शो यू वन some transcripts have been there. Now this is one paper which has already been going on, and this is the transcript which has been generated with the help of Otter AI. Can you say this in the last?
Dr. Singh, can I just suggest something?
Yeah.
Actually, we've overshot our time. Not that we
Yeah,
don't
ma'am.
want to.
We
At
can
least
just take
I
it
would
forward.
definitely want to go on and on with what you're saying.
Right.
But you know, if we can do some more details on this tomorrow as a
Right.
continuation, it will really help
Yeah,
because
ma'am.
I have a hard stop at 8:30.
Sure, ma'am, sure. So what we can do, I'll be sharing the transcripts with all of you. What I want all of you to kindly just go through the data and try to come out with some themes, right? What are the initial themes you have identified? So I will sharing 2-3 like transcripts with you and just identify that,
Sir, if you can
and then
just
we can take it forward.
do it for 1 or 2 sentences, and then maybe we can learn from that.
Sure. So we'll take it forward tomorrow then. All right?
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much for your time today, and
Thank you,
see you
Dr.
tomorrow
Singh.
then.
It was really interesting.
So if you can just do 1 or 2 sentences that what you're expecting from us, that we figure out the theme.
All right. So I'll just show you one.
Yes, sir.
Now these are the kind of themes, like I'll just show you. Let it get open. Can you see this? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now this is you can say the respondents have been there, so I'm just hiding it. All right. So you can see I am having respondent 1, 2, 3. Now this is on sustainable fashion kind of work which we are doing, and the paper is already in review, you can say. Now whatever the interviews we have conducted, now these are certain initial themes that we have identified from that particular interview. We have done it manually, right? And we can do the same thing with the help of AI also, because I've done it yesterday itself. So I'll show you that. So this is how it has to come. Like for example, what are the major, you can say, the things that has come out of the interviews. So this is how it is going to appear. Can you just do that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Right. So
Sir,
just do the
Sir,
minimum part.
you want
Yeah.
us to do it in the Excel format only?
Yeah, Excel will work, or Word file, whatever.
And what about the color codings? Do they come automatically,
No,
or
this
we
is
have
not
to?
been done by them, by us only, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Then will you share the PPTs with us?
Yeah, I'll share it, man. Don't worry.
You were
Right?
talking about certain papers. Please share those also as.
Okay, so
better
please just
understanding.
look at, you can say, your WhatsApp group. I've already shared few papers. The papers are on IPA, the paper is on case method, the paper is on grounded theory also. I just request all of you, like whatever the methodology you people want to opt for your own self, kindly just at least read the papers and come, so that you can get some clarity, and then whatever the doubts you people are having, then I can take it forward.
Okay, ma'am.
Sir,
May I
actually, some
request?
participants, Rachna ma'am, just a minute.
Yeah,
Some
ma'am. The
participants.
same thing I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
ma'am.
So
Carry on.
I will, I mean, forward those papers again to you in the group. Okay, so don't
Right.
worry about that.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right then. See you tomorrow then.
Sorry, sir. Actually, this color thing that you just showed on the Excel,
Yeah.
is this technically called picking codes in the in vivo language?
No. That is basically to help you understand and to just classify for your understanding, so that you are not mixing up too many things.
Okay, so you'll teach us doing that coding also now?
I'll tell you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I can at least sit for 1 more hour. Now it's
Yeah, it's so interesting. Actually, want to sit more and more. But we have a lot of
No, but,
homework. I guess we have to do a lot of work till
Dr.
tomorrow.
Neelam was right that everybody's got their commitments. So
Right,
maybe we can
So
do
what
it
we
tomorrow.
can do, like you just people read the papers first, and then we can come back. And accordingly, I'll start sharing the papers with you people, whatever the theory you would like to go deeper into, and then I'll tell you that how we generally move. Right? All right then.
Right.
See you tomorrow then. Thank
So the
you.
administration pattern
Bye-bye.
is different for all these different theories. So
Yeah.
grounded theory
See,
approach, it's
almost the
different.
data collection methods are almost similar.
Okay.
The coding is almost similar.
Okay.
But how we like take the data forward and what kind of findings, you can say, the interpretation that we draw, and what is the research objectives, that actually shapes, you can say, the entire thing.
Okay.
That what kind of research method I will use, whether it's phenomenology, whether it's a grounded theory, it all depends.
Okay.
Based on your research object.
Got it, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
All right then. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
All I can say on behalf of all the participants that we want more and more of it, and actually we're looking forward to the further sessions. So thank you so much, sir.
Likewise.
And hoping to see all you back tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Right?
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
everyone, for
Bye.
joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.